Yes, what's going on, guys, in the works? And we are playing with the 320 buck, and this has been a pretty highly requested underused weapon. And if you've been around my channel for the past couple of months, or at least during the Battlefield 3 era, you know that I am a fan of the 320 buck. I've done several videos on it. In fact, I've done a little live series called the 320 buck where I was running around shooting people with it and they were getting mad. And this thing has gone through a roller coaster of changes. It was really, really powerful when the game first came up, and it wasn't really until which patch was it? I think it was the first big patch after Karkan. They actually ended up nerfing this, and I was kind of shocked. I was like, why did they nerf this thing? It doesn't seem like it needs a nerf, and how often do you really see anybody running this? And then they did nerf it, and they brought it back down to earth. They made it not as powerful as it used to be, and that was kind of a bummer because this thing used to be able to shoot people from so far away. So I guess in that respect, they did kind of bring it down to earth and made it a little bit more balanced. You can't get those long-range snipes that you used to be able to. And you guys remember when it was on the AUG and it had that insane bullet drop? It would just go up and then drop straight down, and you could like lob it over walls and stuff. That was a lot of fun. I really do miss those days. But one of the things I always like to think about when we're doing underused weapons is why is this particular weapon, or I guess we should call it an attachment, but technically it is, quote, a weapon because you are killing people with it, thus making it a weapon. But why is it underused? Why do people not particularly like this attachment? And I'm like, you know, it is a really good finisher, but the biggest trade-off to me is the fact that it's a slow reload. It actually takes quite a while to reload it, which in a lot of cases, if you miss, you will be caught in the reload and you will often die. And it's definitely no secret that you can get hit markers with this thing, and I think that frustrates a lot of people that hit markers are such a common occurrence with it. Sometimes this thing will kill someone from 40 yards away in one shot at 100% health. The next time you turn around, you'll shoot somebody at point blank range and you'll get a hit marker. So it is kind of inconsistent, and I think that frustrates a lot of people. But it's definitely one of the better finisher offer type things in the game. Let's say you put a mag of your M416 into a person, they don't die, you whip out your 320 buck instead of reloading, and boom, you can finish them off, especially if you have it as an underslung attachment. So it is very versatile. I think a lot of people underestimate just how promising it can be to get some kills with the 320. I mean, it's definitely good in close quarters. And like I said, it can reach out to the medium ranges. So I'm actually shocked that this is an underused weapon, or attachment, that is. I think a lot has to do with the fact that the 320 is a lot easier to use, and more people are going to kind of migrate towards the 320 just because it is easier to use. On the flip side, you also have to give up health. And that's a big deal. You know, giving up health is something a lot of people aren't really looking to do unless they get their easy to use 320. But we're going to fast forward into some Metro gameplay here so you can see it in a little bit of a different environment. Now, I really don't know if this is that good on open maps or maps where it's like wide open spaces. I think this works a lot better on maps with long hallways. I wasn't actually a fan of it in close quarters though, and I was trying to think. I was like, man, why would I not like it in close quarters, yet it does well on corridors like Metro, Bazaar. You saw earlier, you saw TDM on Nose Hair Canals. That has a lot of long channels of sight. And I was thinking about it, I was like, really, what makes this not good in close quarters? And I think it's just there's a lot better options out there just because there is a slow reload. It is a lot harder to get people when they get right up on you because you have to keep them inside that circle. So I think in a lot of scenarios the M26 mass is going to beat it as an all-around, you know, multi-purpose weapon, whereas this is more of a finisher offer. So if I was going to give you guys one piece of advice, if you want an in the works tip on the 320 buck, is use it as a finishing weapon. Don't try to use it as a primary like you see me doing here. In a lot of scenarios you will end up dying. Just because it's not really built to be a primary. It's more of a support type weapon. You know, if you go into, let's say you run into this building you see me running into right now, and you know there's going to be a guy at the top of the stairs, whip out your 320 buck, finish him off. But I definitely do enjoy using this. I mean, it's actually one of the more underrated things you can put on the assault class. It's funny that the assault class tends to have all the cool things. You know, they have the 320 launchers, the buck, the smoke. They got all the M26 launchers, the slug, the M26 mass, M26 dart, which I'm sure you guys are all familiar with, and those all really get outshined, or this gets outshined by all of those, I should say, because it doesn't seem like anyone ever wants to give the poor little 320 buck any love out there. It seems like everyone wants to either have a noob tube or health. So give this guy a shot. It definitely is a lot more versatile than people give it credit for. You will get a lot of one-shot kills with it. And I was actually playing with my buddy Sergeant Merrill earlier, and I was telling him, I was like, yeah, I'm using the 320 buck, and he's like, why on earth would you be using that dog crap? Because I guess he feels the same way it seems like a lot of people feel, is that it's just not worth it because it's just too inconsistent. I think that if we're going to sum up this episode, the reason why the 320 buck is underused is because it's inconsistent. And I can agree with that. I have had some frustrating moments with this, but in the long run, I do really enjoy it. I mean, if you go back and look at some of my other 320 buck videos, you can see I really put this thing to work, and it used to be one of my standards when I was playing a lot of Assault. I was always running the 320 buck because it saved me more times than I can count in situations where I either needed to reload or I needed to just whip out a close quarters weapon, especially if you're using like a low fire rate assault rifle. So give this a try. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. I know this was a huge request from a lot of you guys. A lot of my subscribers wanted to see the 320 buck. I don't know how many messages I got about it, but here you go, the 320 buck in all its glory, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.